This is an alliance of different YIMBY groups across the country, and young people are losing hope. They're losing hope of ever owning their own home. They're giving up on the dream of having a family. And we thought it's important to get the message out to parents that if they want to have grandkids, we've got to start to fix this. You know, as you say, the number of young people who are able to afford their own home now has dropped precipitously in just a generation. This is a huge problem, and we thought that we needed to do something about it.
And do you think people weren't doing anything? The older generation were looking after themselves, as it were, and then there was definitely a generational divide.
Well, we're trying to build bridges, not have wars with people. Yeah. And, you know, I think there are plenty of ways for everybody to work together and to get better housing, to get better places, to build housing in a way that makes the community happier. And so there's no need to have a divide, one or the other. But there's no doubt that young people have suffered enormously, and they don't have the opportunities that their parents or their grandparents had to have a chance at home ownership.
And looking at the cost, you know, the first-time buyer could be over, on average, £250,000, and the deposits is huge, £60,000 odd, and you're renting every month, so there isn't much money left, is there?
Exactly.
I just wondered, John, I mean, to me, housing is the ultimate supply and demand market, you know, and at the moment, obviously, there isn't enough supply for the demand. I just wondered, lots of people seem to just focus on the supply part of it. You know, we need more houses and never really talk about the demand bit for it. And I remember once asking a parliamentary question about how many of the new houses that were planned to be built were for people, for immigration, and it was about 2/3 of them. And I just wondered if you had a view about whether or not, actually, in order to deliver the same outcome, perhaps politicians ought to maybe focus as much on demand for housing as they do on the supply of housing.
Well, I think the demand is important, but I think what we have to remember is even if the population stopped growing, we have nowhere near enough housing for the people who are already here. And there are plenty of ways that we can build housing in a way that adds value for the community, as well as providing the homes that young people so desperately need. So I think that's the easiest way to do things. If you have some grand scheme to change property taxes or something like that, perhaps that might work, but the easiest way to do this is supply.